for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. And whither I go, ye know, and the way ye know.
It's about time, man, because I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to get the kingdom. I'm ready to live. I'm ready to breathe fresh. I'm ready to have beautiful, pure women, okay? Not no strawberry harlots on this side. I'm ready to have children, man, you can vibe with, okay? Be around brothers. Be around the Lord himself, okay? I'm ready to go and visit places in the galaxy that we didn't know existed. All right, I'm ready to walk on sandy beaches, man, and explore the ocean floors. I'm ready to fly, okay? I'm ready to eat real food, okay? I'm ready to drive a chariot, man. All right, I'm ready to minister to the Lord and to be ministered to, man. Okay, I'm ready to worship Yahweh Shai in its full entirety. Okay, I'm ready for it. We're ready, man. I'm ready to see angels and greet angels.
But as it is written, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit. But as it is written, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit. The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. And if children, then heirs, heirs of God, and joint heirs with God. If so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of God. For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who hath subjected the same, in hope, because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God. For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. And not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, to wit, the redemption of our body. I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me, Thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth.
All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah Bahashim, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah Bahashim, Rakakwadash, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Al Shah. All right, and what I want to get into this morning, all right, we'll tap into this morning news and prophecy, the summary of the war, thus far, which, when you go into the summary of the war and what's happening, it just shows that the Lord that he is, okay, and that Esau is subjugated to the will of Yahweh Bashim Al Shah. All right. And the Lord is showing, we go into the scriptures and we look out to how, Esau, Edom, is moving in the earth. Well, it just shows that he's subjugated to the will of the Lord, that he's bound. All right. The Lord is showing us that Esau has limitations, and there's limitations that the Lord put on Esau, man. Okay. Esau, the Lord gave Esau power, but he put limitations on that power. Okay. And what's happening, we're seeing Esau being maxed out. Okay, it's just like a sports car, so you have a Lamborghini. Okay, you can spend $1 million on it and have all this and that, but guess what? It still got limitations. Okay, it still got a max speed limit. Okay, you can only go so fast before the motor, okay, blow up, for the tires burn out from their heat. Okay, so you can have a souped up vehicle, but guess what? It has limitations. So what we're seeing is the Lord has souped up Esau, to dominate the earth in wickedness. What's happening, the Lord is forcing Esau to max out, which ultimately he's finna crash out. Okay, and he's gonna crash out via the sword. This sword is gonna be his crash out. And we're gonna go through these things in the scriptures. Now, when you go into let's get this. All right. Let's start in Genesis, going back to Esau's blessing, which we often get. Okay, but when you go here in Genesis 27, all right, and 39, as Jacob, got the blessings of immortality. Okay, you see, Jacob got the birthright. You see, that was meant for the sons of God anyway. All right, Esau, he's the son of the wicked. Okay, so it was never meant for him to have the birthright that was given to Jacob. Okay, but Esau, what he did receive a blessing from Isaac, and he's living in that blessing now. But that blessing will be temporary. Okay, and we're at the end of that blessing that was given to Esau by Isaac, which in the spirit is Yahweh Shah. We're going to link that up. Now, this Genesis 27-39 says, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. Okay, so Esau was blessed with the earth, and that's why the devil has influence of the whole earth, man. You go into the elites, okay, and you go into this beast system where it has influence over the whole earth, okay, and this was part of their blessing. These devils, have the plush parts where they live, islands and resorts and different places where these devils reside, these higher ups, man. But this is their blessing. The Amalek has hoarded the blessing to himself. Okay, it says, and by the sword thou shalt live and shalt serve thy brother. So this the thing, and it says, and by the sword thou shalt live. So Esau's blessing, all right, will come with him living by the sword. Okay, he conquered by the sword. He maintains himself by the sword, but also he's finna crash out with the sword. Okay, and the Lord set a period of time for the devil to prosper with this sword. But then he also set a time for this devil to perish by the sword. Okay, and we're in that time where he's going to perish by the sword, which is military, man. Okay, Esau is going to be militarily defeated in these last days, man. It's going to begin with these heathens, these other heathens, and then it's going to end with Yahweh Shai. Okay, I'm going to get that. So it says, and by thy sword shalt thou live. Okay, and we went into this before. When you go into this sword, shalt thou live. Okay, and by thy sword shalt thou live, which when you go into, all right, the word live, which is chaya in Hebrew, okay, it says what? To live, to have life, to remain alive, to sustain life, to live prosperity, okay? So this devil, all right, he sustains himself, okay, with the sword. He's been able to prosper with the sword, and now he's in the point where he's in survival mode with the sword. So the devil went from conquering with the sword, going to European colonization, which Lord will, I can do a video on that this weekend on Ratazar. But during colonization he was conquering with the sword. Okay, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the French, the British. Okay. And then you had America last, that will come out of that European colonization and turn into what, that little horn that would be their horde and ride the beast, man. Okay, they continue on the legacy of Edomite supremacy with the sword. Okay, so he began to conquer with the sword, then he began to prosper with the sword, stealing resources, okay, throughout the earth, and now he sustains himself with the sword. Okay, but now what we're seeing that he's in survival mode with the sword now, and by this sword he's finna perish. Okay, so going back to reading Genesis 27 and 41, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith he now verse 40 says, and by thy sword shalt thou live and shalt serve thy brother. Okay, because we had this devil in captivity, during the time of King David, King Solomon. He broke away, then we had him during the dark ages. He was pushed off. He was mainly pushed off to the outskirts. Okay, and then he was able to come out, with that lower state, and dominate with the sword. Because from the time of King David to King Solomon, eventually he broke away, and then eventually he came in the power of the Greeks and the Romans. Then he fell, okay, and Jacob was, ruling during the dark ages. Then the devil came about during the Renaissance with what? With the sword. And this is when he came into the fullness of the blessing that was given to him by Isaac, the fatness of the earth, which he will get and maintain through the sword. Okay? It said, it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck, So the devil, he's off the chain right now, and what he doing? He's been wilding with that sword, you see, but now he's maxed out. And the Lord has leveled these other nations up to get busy with this nigga with this sword, man. Okay? Now, when you go here, because what did when you go here to Matthew 26, what did Yahushua? All right, when you go to Matthew 26 and 52. Okay, and this is when Peter, okay, as you go here, let's read this. Is Matthew 26 and 51. This is when they was coming to get Yahushua. It says, and behold, one of them which were with Yahushua stretched out his hand and drew his sword and struck a servant of the high priest and smote his ear. Then said Yahushua to him, put up again thy sword into his place, because it wasn't time for it. Okay, Yahushua had to be a sacrifice, man, so it wasn't time, to try to take down Rome. Okay, but now it is. You see, it said, put up again thy sword into his place, for all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. You see, and you got to understand, this is Yahushua. Remember, who blessed Esau with the sword? It was Isaac, which we know was Yahushua. Now, who is in power, as Yahushua is saying this? Esau, Edom. And how did the Romans operate? With the sword. How did they dominate the earth with the sword? How did they maintain their kingdom? How did they prosper through the sword? Okay? So Yahweh shot, if you can receive it, hey, he was throwing shots at Esau then. For all they that take the sword, all right, shall perish with the sword, man. Okay? And he was speaking to Esau, man. If you can receive it, you know? Because what? Pagan Rome will be revived in these latter days. Okay? And this is the America, NATO, and the EU of today. You know, pagan Rome has revived itself, man, and it's getting ready to perish with the sword because it lives by the sword. It's gonna perish with the sword, man. So when you go to this word perish, okay, you get this word perish, okay, in the Greek.
Strong's G 622. Apollomy. Apollomy.
Apollomy, all right, which means what? To destroy, to put one out of the way entirely, to put out of the way entirely, to abolish, to put an end to ruin. Okay, so the sword is getting ready to come, the nukes and the chariots. Okay, it's going to put Esau out of the way entirely. It's going to abolish his rulership, his authority. It's going to put an end, going to put a ruin, okay, to this new Greco-Roman Empire, man, that he's trying to take digital, man. Okay, it says to render useless, to kill, to declare that one must be put to death, man. You know, so this devil is at the point where he's finna perish by the sword via the nukes and Yahweh shot. And let's prove it. Okay, let's go here. Let's get Isaiah. Let's get this in Isaiah. So you get this in the book of Isaiah, chapter 34. Okay, it's Isaiah 34:4. It says, and all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved. You know, just the militaries of the earth. Okay, they're gonna be dissolved, man. No chariots. Okay, are going to melt the militaries of the earth, and the heavens shall be rolled up as a scroll, and a mushroom cloud from the nukes, and all the hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as the fallen fig from the fig tree. Yeah, that's Yahweh Shai, you know, vaporizing the militaries of the earth, man, turn them into powder in the midst of this nuclear destruction, man. It said, for my sword, wait a minute, for my sword. You see that? Esau lives by the sword, but wait, the Most High said, for my sword. Okay, because Esau lives by the sword, he's going to perish by that sword. Okay, that's why the scriptures refer to the nukes as the weapons of the Lord's indignation. These are his weapons. You see, it says, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven, all right, which they're going to soak in the outer atmosphere. Okay, and it says, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment, man, which is Esau, man. Esau was set up from failure when he was blessed with the sword. When he was blessed to live by the sword, that was his curse as well. Because now that sword is turning into a curse to the devil, man. Okay? The same thing that he prospered with the sword is now a curse to the devil, man. You see? The Lord God to where he don't have an answer, you know, to these heathens, man, who've been souped up, man. You see? By Yahweh, by Shema Shai. Let the weak say I'm strong. Okay? So now these nations possess the weapons of the Lord's indignation, man. These nukes, man. These ICBM, hypersonic. Okay? So go from there, because what is Yahweh Shai? When you speak about Yahweh Shai, because he's coming back to get busy with all the nations, man. Okay? And Esau at the forefront. This is Revelation 19:11. It says, and I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, And in righteousness he doth judge and make war. And this Yahweh Shai on that chariot, that white horse, man. Okay, and he's coming to what? Wage war in righteousness. He coming to judge in righteousness. And you jump down to 15. Okay, it says, and the armies, all right, which were in heaven followed him, the chariots, the angels, all right, upon white horses clothed in fine linen, white and clean, and out of his mouth, which is the opening of the chariot, goeth out a sharp sword. Okay, so Yahweh Shai, which blessed Esau with the sword, is coming back, okay, with a sword, which is a fire from the chariots. Okay, a sharp sword, which let you know it's going to be lethal, man. It's going to be a fire that's not of this world. Okay, it said, out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he shall tread at the winepress of the fierceness of the wrath of the almighty power. Okay, so Yahweh Shai, you got the nukes coming, which are likened unto what? Swords. And you got Yahweh Shai coming, who's coming with sword, which is coming with war, man. Okay, and that's how Esau is going to perish, man. So we're seeing the build up to Esau perishing by the sword that he's prospered by for so long. You see, and there's nothing he can do, okay, to stop, that process, man. Okay, now let's go here, and you can see that Esau don't have no answer, man. And it's the Lord that got Esau, okay, in this trap, man. So let's go here, and this guy here, he's going to sum up what's been happening, with America and Iran. Okay, now when you let's see, here we go. Let's play this, and he's just going to sum it up,
Now, what we want to do is we want to analyze what happened. And we want to pay very careful attention to why the discriminate air campaign, the blockade, and the tit for tat all failed. Those three strategies were all failed. If you listen carefully to what I said, we went from discriminate air campaign to blockade to tit for tat. But we did not contemplate or move toward the land option, and we want to talk about why that's the case, nor...
And then land option going, the scriptures say, the Lord shall remove far from us the northern army. Okay, that's the deployment of American troops going over there to Saudi Arabia. Okay, between the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea. You see? So we in the time now that these devils, that's their last option. You see? As far as conventional warfare. Because the next option after that is going to go nuclear, man. You see? And so while these things are happening, the devil has to mandate the sea hip. And this is putting pressure on Esau because their sword ain't prospering like it was, which is speeding up Esau's timeline for this new world order, man. That's why it's going to be thrown together. It's going to be bloody and thrown together, man. Okay?
Did President Trump ever go to an indiscriminate air campaign? Although he threatened it, as I tried to make clear. And we want to know why he didn't do either of those two, or employ either of those two strategies. Okay. So let's go to the discriminate air campaign, the 40-day campaign. Truth is, it just didn't work. There was no evidence as that campaign wore on that the Iranians were going to throw up their hands and surrender. The shock and awe campaign, the decapitation strategy, which came at the end, came at the beginning, didn't work. And we continued to bomb. Most estimates say that the United States hit over 13,000 targets. You want to think about that. This is not the Israelis. We can't get a good number for the Israelis. But the Americans alone hit 13,000 plus targets in that 40-day campaign. This is a strategic bombing campaign.
13,000 targets. Still no results. Okay, those airstrikes from February 28th to August the 6th, 7th. Okay, 13,000 targets hit in Iran. Still no results. Okay, that's him trying to survive by their sword. You see, that hammer getting soft, man. Okay, 13,000 airstrikes, man. 13 targets hit. I mean, you see, still no results, man, because Esau was maxed out. It's time for him to perish with their sword now. Okay, so let's play this some more.
But the Iranians were not showing any signs of quitting. Furthermore, the Iranians made it perfectly clear during that campaign that they had the ability to retaliate, and retaliate they did. And they were inflicting massive punishment on American bases in the region, on America's Gulf state allies, and on Israel itself. So the Iranians were doing quite well for themselves in the fight. And all the time this is happening, people are deeply worried that if the war goes on and on and on like this, that number one, the United States is going to run out of munitions because we only have a limited number of offensive munitions and defensive munitions to protect ourselves, our allies, and the Israelis against incoming ballistic missiles from Iran. So the inventory of offensive and defensive weapons is being run down. The Iranians show no signs of quitting. And furthermore, they are retaliating in serious ways that threaten the world economy. So what does President Trump do? What President Trump does as we move towards the end of the 40-day war is that he threatens to go to an indiscriminate air campaign. Just think about that. He's thinking about going to an indiscriminate air campaign. He's talking about bombing the Iranians back to the Stone Age because the discriminate air campaign has failed. And he sees this as the best alternative. But what happens is he does not pursue that strategy. He does not. What he does is, after threatening to wipe out the Iranian civilization, he then, the next day, declares a ceasefire. A ceasefire. He doesn't go up the escalation ladder. And the question you want to ask yourself is, why doesn't he do this? And the reason he doesn't do this is because the United States does not have escalation dominance. We've learned this in the 40-day war. The fact is that if President Trump goes to an indiscriminate campaign, that means he's going to hit bridges, he's going to hit power plants, he's going to hit desalination plants inside of Iran, he's going to hit their oil facilities, he's going to destroy their oil and gas facilities. The Iranians make it clear they're going to do the same thing to all the Gulf states. And they're going to do a lot of the same thing to Israel itself. And President Trump understands full well he cannot prevent this. He understands that as he goes up the escalation ladder, the Iranians will go up the escalation ladder with him. And you want to remember that if, in the event this were to happen, and the Iranians were to destroy all of those desalination plants in the Gulf states and their oil and gas infrastructure, this would have devastating consequences for the international economy. And that's the last thing that President Trump wants to have. So you see, it makes no sense to go up the escalation ladder. This is why an indiscriminate air campaign makes no sense. And it's why the next day, after making those genocidal threats on April 7th, he goes to a ceasefire on the 8th. And the ceasefire is followed by negotiations, as I said, in Islamabad. This is where Vice President Vance meets with Iranian negotiators. That fails, and he has to do something. So what does he do? Does he go back to the air war? No. He sticks with the ceasefire, but he employs a blockade. And that starts on April 13th And it runs until June 17th when you get the Memorandum of Understanding. But the question you want to ask yourselves is, what good is the blockade? And the answer is, it's basically no good. It doesn't work. Anybody who's studied blockades understands that blockades, if they ever work, take a long time to work. They take many, many months, if not years, to strangle a country the size of Iran. So it's no accident that between April 13th and June 17th, that's just a little over 2 months, we've made very little progress in causing the Iranians to throw up their hands and say, I quit. Therefore, having failed with the air war, and that's the discriminate air campaign, being unwilling to go to an indiscriminate air campaign, having failed with the blockade on June 17th, President Trump signs the Memorandum of Understanding. And as I made clear at the top of the show, that's a surrender document. Okay, after President Trump signs that agreement, he can't bring himself to stick to it. The thought of the United States losing, the thought of Donald Trump losing a war that he started to Iran is just unacceptable. So he begins to challenge, to undermine the Memorandum of Understanding. He begins to look for ways to put pressure on the Iranians, again, to get the Iranians to throw their hands up. And this is the start of the tit for tat campaign, right? As I said to you, as soon as the Americans establish this channel in the Strait of Hormuz, contrary to what's in Article 5 of the Memorandum of Understanding, the Iranians start shooting at ships that are going through that channel. We retaliate with air attacks, and the Iranians then retaliate against us. And of course, we retaliate, they retaliate, and we're going up the escalation ladder. But it's just tit for tat. And what you want to understand here is that a tit for tat air strategy is much less ambitious than that strategic bombing campaign that we waged during the first 40 days of the conflict. And you just say to yourself, if that strategic bombing campaign, even though it's a discriminating bombing campaign, when it discriminated in terms of targets, is still a substantial bombing campaign, 13,000 plus targets by the United States alone. If that, right, couldn't bring the Iranians to their knees, why would anybody think that a tit for tat strategy is going to bring the Iranians to their knees? And in fact, it didn't. And in fact, the tit for tat strategy was causing the United States huge problems. In fact, we were beginning to move our military assets out of the Persian to Jordan and back to Israel. And what did the Iranians do? They started targeting Jordan. And they were doing substantial damage to American military assets in Jordan, which is outside the Persian Gulf. All of this just shows you that escalation dominance, whether you're talking about the discriminate air campaign or the indiscriminate air campaign, or you're talking about tit for tat, you go up the escalation ladder in either of those three cases, and it's not clear that America wins. And in fact, it's clear to me that Iran wins.
And here comes.
Damn. So no matter what the devil tries to do militarily, he can't get off. You see, every avenue he go down, it leads to the same thing. It reminds me of that Operation Looking Glass, when these devils kept getting, they'll put different inputs in, and it'll always come out the same. Okay, so no matter what the devil does, that sword ain't cutting it no more, man, because it's time for him to perish with the sword now. Okay, he done passed the phase of prospering and conquering and maintaining his kingdom with the sword. No, it's time to perish with the sword now. So whenever he whatever he tries to do militarily, it leads to the same outcome, man. Okay, and ultimately it's going to escalate because at the top of that escalation ladder is the nukes and Yahushua. That's what's at the top of this escalation ladder. Is the nukes and Yahushua. And that's the only path this devil got. That's why he keeps stopping and going and stopping and going. It don't matter. Okay, it's gonna come a time where the Lord ain't gonna allow this nigga to stop, man. Okay, especially when he mandate this sea hip, man. You see? So let's get a couple of these precept brothers got. This other brother, the hopeful elect 3, Jeremiah 49 and 14. It said, I have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador sent unto the heathen, saying, gather ye together and come against her and rise up to battle. Okay? And that's the spirit that the Lord got on these nations, is to gather together, make these alliances, and rise up to battle against the whore, man. Okay? The Lord is seeking these nations on America, man. Okay? And these nations are equipped, all right, to handle their business, man. To fulfill their assignment in prophecy, man. Okay, Jeremiah 49 and 15. For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen, which is insignificant, and despised among men. Okay, and the way that this back and forth is going, all right, is making it to where these nations, all right, are fully confident to try America, man. Okay, they're now you got these, all right, nations ready, okay, to get at America now. All right. They don't mind throwing their hat in the fight now. You see? Let's go here. Your brother got this. Is a brother, uh, uh, servants of Yahushua says, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, beginning with Russia, and they shall set themselves in array against her. For from thence shall she be taken. Their arrow shall be as a mighty expert man, none shall return in vain. And one of the talks of, that tit for tat war is like Iran missiles just keep getting more accurate. Every time they, go back at it, it's like Iran is stronger and America is weaker. You see, they this tick for tat, these 13 days, 14 days of, exchange. Okay, America is scratching his head like these niggas is accurate as hell, but that's the Lord. The Lord said that they're gonna be of a mighty expert, man. Now ultimately, it's the nukes that's gonna fulfill that. Jeremiah 50 and 9. It's gonna be the nukes that's gonna fulfill of a mighty expert, man. We're just seeing the prelude of these things conventionally, with the conventional war. But ultimately, the nukes are gonna be the fulfillment of those arrows of a mighty expert, man. Okay, so let's go from there. All right, I want to get this in Psalms and then we'll segue, man. Yeah, man. So Esau, he's washed up with their sword, man. Okay, like I say, now he's going to get busy on citizens. Now, when it comes to, what the Lord got Esau getting ready to do, with you American citizens and the tribes, okay, he gonna get off, because the Lord wants to judge 2/3 and you Americans, man. Okay, so he's gonna get off, on American citizens, man. Okay, but as far as going across that water, it's all bad. He washed up. Okay, let's go here. Um, where is it? Oh yeah, put this up here. Oh, also like let me get this in Psalms 33. Then we'll save on to the next video. So you go here to the book of Psalms. All right, chapter let's get this here. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 33, and verse 16. It said, there is no king saved by the multitude of hosts. A mighty man is not delivered by much strength. A horse is a vain thing for safety, neither shall he deliver any by his great strength. Yes. So it doesn't matter about the multitude. Okay, it doesn't matter about your military. It doesn't matter about America's $1 trillion budget. It doesn't matter about America's military technology, all these aircraft carriers and fighter jets. Okay, none of these things matter when it comes to the prophecies of Yahweh Shema Shai. We can really stop talking about it. You know, going into American accolades and what they got, you can ball that piece of paper up. Okay? It don't even matter anymore. Give a damn, they got 1 million fighter jets. It's over. Okay? The Lord got this nigga, like the scriptures say, the Lord has caused Esau to walk into a snare. You see, and he can't retreat. Okay? There's no retreat. You know, he can try to pause and reset and come this. No, ain't no retreat, man. He in that trap. Okay? And there's no military, okay, solution for Esau. The sword them peeked out. Okay? As far as going against other military. I said he gonna get busy, you know, domestically with citizens. All right. But he's gonna reach the max of what he can do with these nations, man. Okay, and the Lord has given these nations the upper hand for fulfillment of prophecy, man. You see? Oh, here, Jeremiah. Let's get Jeremiah 9. And Jeremiah 9:23 said, "Thus said the Lord Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man glory in his might. Let not the rich man glory in his riches, but let him that glory in this." You see? And Esau's been boasting in his wisdom, his high IQ, and now he got the AI. And that's another thing. AI is trash in this war, man. You see, AI is good, you know, for, tracking and finding, someone in a controlled environment, in peace times. Okay? AI is good when it's controlled, when the environment is more controlled. All right? But when things happen quickly, like within war, AI is trash, man. You see? And I say it's going to do wonders when it comes to him waging war on the citizens over here in America, man. The AI going to work wonders. But in that war over there, okay, with them guys, you see, with that souped up alliance, the AI trash, man. You see, and he boasted in that, and he put his, he invested in that, he put his chips in that, okay, and it's not working. And no matter what he do, it's not going to work, man. It said, neither let the mighty man glory, all right, in his might. You know, he boasted in, military might, the greatest military on earth. Okay, yeah, it has been. Okay, key word has been. You see, because if you're not effective, well, you can't claim that title anymore. Okay, that title is being stripped from America, man. That's why Scripture said, "Well, come sit down in the dust." Matter of fact, brother, get that Isaiah 47:1 all the way to verse 4. Bible shot. It says, "Neither let the mighty man glory in his might, let not the rich man glory in his riches, but let him that glory in this, that he said that he understandeth and knoweth me." Okay, and see, we understand and know Yahweh by Shema Shai. That's our glory. That's why we don't need a military. We got Yahweh by Shema Shai. We don't need a standing military. We don't need aircraft carriers and special forces and no. You got Yahweh by Shema Shai. What the Lord told Abraham, "I'm thy shield and thy exceeding great reward." Okay, it says, which exercise love and kindness, judgment and righteousness in the earth, for in these things I delight, said the Lord Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. Okay, so yeah, man, we you look at the position we in. Okay, we got our power back. You see, and long as we got Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, we got everything, man. You see, and Esau has built himself up, has enriched himself with the sword, has, spent all his money, on the sword, and got all this, got his military spread throughout the earth, and none of that's finna matter. Okay, none of that matters, man. Okay, because prophecy was against this devil, man. You see, so let's get this real quick. and show you that America is just done, man. You know, Babylon. This from that brother. This from that brother. Yaqua. All right. Hopeful leg 3. Subscribe. And be informed. About the happiness. So yeah. Let's go here, man. He put this video together. Babylon got to go, man. Okay. And this sums up. This is the end. Like this is the end of like a washed up, singer, or like I say, athlete. And that's how America's going out, man. Still trying to play past, the age they should have retired. Okay, still think they're in their prime. Okay, but this place is finished, and people are just bugged out, man.
Right, imagine you go to a nice steakhouse. It's great. The fillets are fully dressed, but the diners, well, not so much.
What? Okay, so that is what's happening at a South Florida restaurant.
Let's do a new dinner.
Class Soiree Steakhouse in Hollywood is the talk of the town and also social media. Rod Ali is the chef and owner. He came up with the once-a-month concept to get new business and to generate some real buzz. Nude diners. Chef Ali says there's a what? Says there's a market for it. And if you are hating on it, he doesn't care. Just leave his customers alone.
Please allow people to express themselves at our place.
Nothing like expressing yourself like being in the nude. Nude dining experience costs between $150 and $300. And in case you were wondering, the city of Hollywood says the nude dining is legal because
crazy work, man. And then it says legal. Nigga just eat naked. Hey, if a brother could post all the Sodom and Gomorrah scripts, all of them, man. Okay, in America, and see, as this war is happening, you see that Sodom and Gomorrah behavior is on the uptick. Okay, because this war is going to be the judgment. The war is going to fulfill the judgment of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, in America, man. You see, well, this is the madness that's happening. Okay, this is what America is on. Okay, is just losing the war, and this is what American citizens are on. That's why those nukes going to come from the other side of the earth and come here and judge this place, man. If this war escalates, it's going to escalate to the nuclear missiles coming over here, all right, and fulfilling the judgment of Sodom and Gomorrah in America, man.
the workers there, they're clothed.
Okay, interesting.
How are you supposed to eat a steak with somebody naked beside you?
You do you. You know what I mean? I support it completely. It takes the pressure off the first date. You don't have to worry about the outfit.
Cheers. Enjoy your steak.
First of their kind, transgender dolls are set to debut in Minnesota classrooms this fall. The taxpayer-funded paper dolls come with genitalia that can be removed and then swapped out. A therapist at the University of Minnesota Medical tells the New York Post that they spent over a decade developing the dolls. The goal is to help kids, quote, learn about the different options that exist for who they can be. A website for the dolls promises to, quote, make gender fun. It says they were designed for clinicians and educators and lists their purpose as therapeutic play and gender identity exploration. They'll reportedly be in classrooms with kids as young as 4.
Can we agree on that?
What's that?
The woman is more
Crazy work, man. Okay. This is what they're normalizing, man. Let's get this. Let's see, brother got some. Yep. Yeah, let's start here. That's the book of Jude, chapter 1, verse 7. All right, it's Brother Yaqua, the hopeful elect. Jude 1 and 7. Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set for an example, suffering the vengeance, okay, of eternal fire. Okay, now Sodom and Gomorrah is still not on fire to this day, but their judgment is eternal, because Sodom and Gomorrah was never inhabited again. Okay, it was never built back up. That judgment was final. All right, it was judged by fire and never to come back, and it's an eternal, all right, memorial of wickedness, man. America's going to be the same thing. It's going to be an eternal, all right, memorial of wickedness, man. It's the brother GMS Bun, all right, Maka Ya'ala, Oklahoma camp, Isaiah 13 and 9, 13 and 19. It says, in Babylon, the glory of the kingdoms, all right, the glory of kingdom, the beauty of the Chaldeans' excellency shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, and America's fulfilling, okay, everything it needs to fulfill, okay, to get this judgment of Sodom and Gomorrah. America is earning that judgment, man. They're working their way to this judgment. So if the wars escalate, you're going to see lewdness escalate in America. You're going to see rebellion, confusion escalate in America, man. Okay? And then that war is going to escalate, and those missiles are going to come over here and judge, man. Because Lord likened those missiles into his army as well. You see? This is the brother Yashima tribe of Judah, then if you can post verse 9 too, bro. It says 2nd Esdras 2 and 8, it says, woe be unto thee, Assur, thou that hidest the unrighteous in thee. O thou wicked people, remember what I did unto Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, and then speaking of Assyria, the brother already got, okay, I see the water, bro. But Assur goes into Assyria, which America is likened into Assyria, man. Assyria was a major military empire, going back into the Mesopotamia, the Levant region, okay, before Babylon. You see, it was known for a central command, of his military and particular things. But what did Assyria, when you go to the end, before the fall of Nineveh, well, Assyria had become very lewd to its king. One of the last Assyrian kings was a cross-dresser, man. Okay, so here it is, America hides the unrighteous in them, which these things are protected. Wickedness is protected and glorified in America, man. Okay, but the Lord said, what? Remember what I did unto Sodom and Gomorrah. He's always hitting at that judgment of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, and America is, like I say, America is fulfilling their role of modern Sodom and Gomorrah, man. And it's going to get that judgment up on a much massive scale. And when you go to verse 9, it says, whose land lieth in clods and pitch and heaps and ashes, even so also will I do unto them that hear me not, said the Almighty Lord, man. Okay, so all these things are building up at the same time. All prophecy runs together. Everything is building up in its own lane, but it all has one destination, man. And that's the complete destruction of America, the end of this beast system, the enslavement of these heathens. Okay? And you can see this nigga finna say something dumb. Okay? This is Jeremiah 49 and 18. It says, as in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, in the name of cities thereof, saith the Lord, no man shall abide there, neither shall the son of man dwell in it, man. It's going to be uninhabited. Okay? It's going to be a permanent, all right, it's going to be a permanent memorial of wickedness, man. So let's play some more of this, man. In this rebellious spirit of the nigga woman. You can just look at, that dumb rebellious spirit. Now listen to this dumb nigga, man.
More powerful than the man.
I mean, if you want to believe it, it's okay.
Can we agree on that?
What's that?
The woman is more powerful than the man.
I mean, if you want to believe it, it's okay.
But you just, all your examples that you just gave showed why the woman is more powerful.
If you want to believe that, it's okay.
Well, why, if she makes the decisions, why wouldn't she be more powerful?
I didn't say she wasn't or not. I said if you want to believe that, it's okay.
Do you agree?
Do I agree what?
that women are more powerful than men.
I don't agree with that. Why? Because God created the woman to assist the man. It wasn't the other way around.
Why do you feel like that?
I don't feel like that. God felt like that.
In what way?
He created the man first. Or am I wrong about that?
Well, I mean, who's to say? There's missing pages from the Bible. Do we really know?
I'm asking. He created the man first, and then he created the mate to assist. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong.
Well, let's just say we're going to take it from the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he did create the man first. But where did he create the woman out of? What location of the body?
Did you just not hear what I said?
What location of the body did he create?
Did you just not hear what I just said? It still came from the man.
What location? So, why you can't answer the question?
Because it came from the man.
But what location from the body?
And there's no point at this point. You know, dealing with Eve, like, what's the point? You know, we at the point now. Just let Eve be Eve. It's like the argument and the back and forth not even worth. You know, like getting into it. Like, you know, with me, that's where I'm at, man. It's really no point. Just let Eve know every goddamn thing. You know, she's this genius superhero. Let Eve have it, man. You know, but it just show you that spirit of rebellion. All right, which we know when they talking about the real. All right, it was just talking about Eve was kin to Adam. She was of his kin. You know, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Okay, when you get into that, but we done plenty of videos on that. Okay, but this is just another bugged out Eve. All right, but just that rebellious spirit with a nigga woman just want to be so combative. You know, want to try to one up you and that. Okay, you got it. You know, y'all are strong. Go be great. Okay.
You back that ass up. You's a fine motherfucker when you back that ass. Please call me Big Daddy.
Go on, baby.
Boy, who is you playing? You back that ass up. Boy, you look good when you back that ass up. Boy, who is you playing when you back that ass up? You can call me Big Mama when you back that ass up. Boy, who is you playing when you back that ass up? I bet it. I bet.
Wacky mother. He got a serious guy. Oh, now he's getting a oh,
you grabbing another guy.
Oh,
you grabbing something bigger.
We're getting out of here.
You better get out of here. Hey! Stop shooting! Stop shooting!
My question.
So now this is supposed to be the in and out shooting. Okay, with a guy, shot up by 4 people, and then it screened all these flock cameras, and nobody picked this nigga up. Okay, he just been casually recorded, just walking around, rifle, shooting, like this Grand Theft Auto, man. Okay, but this is America, man. Even trying to, he trying to figure out, okay, it's just attacking us, man. Okay, and it's time for those nukes to come from, all right, these other nations and come to America, man, because it's just a mess all over the board, man. Like the brother titled the compilation, Babylon just gotta go, man.
I don't have service, dude.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer.
What the hell is going on in Babylon, man? And why this nigga got shorts on, man? What is going on in Babylon? You see? And then you got this guy here, Fauci, and this is nothing but a distraction, okay? like Fauci is the end and beginning of the wickedness of the pandemic. You know, and this is just a thing as if America is trying to serve some type of justice for what happened during the pandemic. You know, as if, you know, even if they was to, all right, in prison, all right, Dr. Fauci, as if there was going to be justice served for the wickedness this man did, you know, during the lockdowns, which he turned the earth to a death count, man. You know, he injected the earth, okay, with poison, okay, that's still having an effect to this day. So let's play this.
Answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
So you won't apologize to the military members who Joe Biden summarily dismissed from the military for not taking.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Will you apologize to the business owners that lost their business, shattered their lives, and they'll never recover?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Will you apologize to the moms who had to force their infant children, 2, 3, 4-year-olds, to put masks on, and what that did and how that traumatized those kids?
Under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Will you apologize to the family members of the people who died because they took your advice and not only got the first, but the 5, 6 other boosters that they did not need?
To answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Will you apologize to that mom from Ohio for being arrested for watching a football game with her family?
Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
So you didn't know who wrote the Fifth Amendment. It's James Madison. Lived in this town. I can only wonder what he would think of somebody like you invoking his writings to shield culpability for the actions that you took.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Oh boy. Yeah, yeah, I knew I'd get a little kick out of that one. You know what I'm saying? Oh boy. Drop the mic. She should have dropped the mic. You know? That would have been right on cue. She would have dropped the mic. Oh man. Yeah, I'm speechless, you know. But let's get a couple more precepts. But that sums up where America is at, man. That's pretty much the post, okay, Babylon. All right, at this point. So let's see. The brother had got it earlier. Isaiah. Yeah, this is brother Yahweh Hopeful Lake 3. It said this is Isaiah 47:1. It says, "Come down and sit in the dust," okay, which is confusion, and also, you know, it's a position of shame. O virgin daughter of Babylon, sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, which are the elites, because America's, you know, been the project, you know, and a major investment of the elites. Is why it's called what the excellency of kingdoms, you know, because the elites invest a lot into this American system, man. It says, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Okay, so their status, you know, tender and delicate, you know, goes into that noble status, you know, because people of nobility, you know, they wouldn't have, you know, the catless and, you know, the hard hands and, you know, the scars that come with, you know, working, with laboring, you know, they would be considered tender and delicate. Okay, so America has enjoyed, you know, this status, okay, in this system, you know, being like this noble nation in the earth. You see, and it says Isaiah 47:2 says, "Take millstones and grind meal, uncover thy locks, make bare the legs, uncover the thigh, pass over the river, thy nakedness, okay, shall be uncovered. Yeah, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man." And this is Yahweh Shai. Okay, because everything that we're seeing is a build up to the second coming of Yahweh Shai, man. This war, all right, this lewdness, okay, this, you know, this Sodom and Gomorrah behavior, all of it is leading to Yahweh Shai coming to take vengeance on this place, man. So America is just being fully exposed for what it is. You know, the Epstein crew, all right, well, they're just, you know, they're just one, you know, fragment of this man's wickedness. Okay, there's a continual operation of wickedness that never stopped. You know, well, I say even with that Epstein, he make it seem as if, you know, they stopped the you know, the XEX trafficking and the PDF failure and, you know, the sacrifice. Okay, the minor sacrifice that they do. Nah, man. These are the Canaan. These are Esau comes in the spirit of those Canaanites, man. Okay, because Sodom and Gomorrah, it goes back to Canaan. You see? But now everything is being exposed, man. The military, what it's really about, what it's been doing all these years, that's been exposed, man. Everything is out there, man. You know, because it's time for judgment. So the Lord is laying this nigga charges out because now Yahweh Shai is going to come execute righteous judgment, man. You know, verse 4 says, Isaiah 47:4 says, "As for our Redeemer, the Lord Yahweh Bashim al-Shai of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel," man. Okay, so we in the time of the redemption of the elect of Israel, you know, and great judgment. You see, so you know, Lord will, all right, you brothers, all right, and you sisters, all right, were edified, you know. Until next time, say Shalom, Kwam Yashala, Abba Baal soon, all right. And make sure y'all go check Auntie out again, man. You know, get an encore. Shalom.